So in this webinar, we're going to break things down and talk about some of the reasons you might choose to work with influencers, and then look more specifically at exactly what's involved in doing that. So how you define your goals and expectations, how you go about finding people to work with, what to budget, how to approach people, how to collaborate well, and what you can expect from them.
But some of the reasons you'll kind of want to think about being connected influencers is that you can reach new audiences, you can humanize your organization, so make it so that your work feels more relevant to everyday online communities or everyday audiences. And it's also worth saying that we need to reframe how we see the word influencers and creators. It means so much more nowadays. It's not just about people selling products or people doing fancy dances or things of that nature. There are people who are hobbyists who have become creators in their own right. There are people who are just really skilled at doing something, specifically who have created platforms and created audiences for themselves. And you can just think about, how do I tap into some of those communities to tell my story, to tap in authentically, to become part of a bigger community. Once you know what your benchmarks are and you know what looks realistic to you, you can start to kind of slowly take steps into that creator economy to see who's connecting with you. So if you're an organization online, see who's tagged you. See if there's anybody who's tagged you of interest, or said anything of interest, or who are doing things, who like what you're doing. You may find some people who are aligned with your work, who you can connect with. You might want to go through agencies, you might want to go through agents. You need to be clear on what your expectations are. You need to have a clear brief on what you're trying to achieve. And you need to be clear about what success looks like for you, so that you can get the best bang for your buck.
So do you want to go through some of that? Tell us, what are the kinds of things that people ought to be thinking about?
The key thing that I really want to emphasize with this is that it takes time. Like, all the different aspects of it take time and need time kind of putting into it to sort of make the most of it and to be able to fit it in, to do the work of maybe a massive ad agency with an influencer department. So just give yourself time and grace to be able to work on building those relationships and doing that work kind of in pieces.
We sort of knew the type of people, influencers, content creators that we wanted to work with. I don't think we would have found them on a list, because they're a bit more niche in that sort of sense. We wanted there to be an ethos that when we looked at their accounts, we were like, oh, we could be friends, because we shared the same values and the same ethics and the same output.
What are the risks in all of this, as far as you can see?
Was the sort of the risk of like a misalignment of values, particularly if you're working with people who, they're themselves online. So really do some due diligence on the people that you're kind of hoping to work with. So I would always recommend, sort of as you're doing that research and putting together that Excel spreadsheet, just start following all of those accounts anyway, even if you don't end up working with them. Number one, it's nice to sort of have an affinity and a knowledge of them anyway, but you kind of want to be aware of the other stuff that they're posting, potentially alongside the stuff that you would be asking them to post. So kind of look back through their feed and see if there's anything that you would feel uncomfortable about content from your project sitting alongside.
Audience, or the way that their followers were engaging with them, and more importantly, I suppose, the way that they then responded to and engage with their followers. We were making so many faux pas at the start, like asking, like, oh, if we pay you, can you put this on your wall? And they're like, no, it's probably going to be more like a story than, we're very protective about what goes on our wall. Luckily though, I think because our initial approach was always, look, we're a small organization, we have some money, we're trying this for the very first time, this is the project. And I think because we've been very selective about who we approached, everybody just came back very warmly and literally held our hands through what their version of working with them could look like.
It can feel quite serious having to work with influencers, but at the end of the day, it's people making fun content about your great project. So I think just kind of trying to approach it with a level of people talking to people, rather than it being this kind of serious thing where you have to go in with a lot of pomp and KPIs and stuff straight off the bat.